Uh, Hello again. Man. How can I resolve this? Hi, again. Um, what's going on? I'm back. I'm back. Uh, yo, yeah. My phone died. My phone died earlier. Um, but yeah, I'm back. For now, I forgot what we were talking about. I know it had something to do with God, because God told me to talk to you in the last one. Um, but yeah, like we could just pick back up like wherever we're at now. Why did I cut my hair? Why did I cut my hair? Um, I think when I cut my hair, it was at a point when I realized there was like true spiritual significance towards hair, and I didn't feel like I was at this space in my life to have like locks. The locks that I did, I felt like while I was growing them, there was a lot kind of caught up in them that I needed to like kind of relinquish myself of as I was stepping into a new phase of my life. And so for me, it was just kind of a physical manifestation of the spiritual leap that I was taking. And yeah. um, where are we at? You don't have to search no more. Uh, what can I expound? So I was just kind of like I was making the live and I was trying to figure out a name and I was listening to what song was that? Hey Google, can you play music? It's a song by Travis Green. You don't have to search no more. I'm the one you're looking for. It's called a Respond. All right, Google. Can you Google? Hey Google. Hey. All right, you could play. Um, yeah. Never mind. I can't talk with this. Hello. Hey Google. Can you pause music, please? Yeah. That's just the line that I heard, and I felt like maybe it was a message from God, or it could serve as a message from God. I think whatever it is that you're searching for, I hope that you can find it here. um, but yeah, also I was on live earlier and my phone died, but I got on my computer and it said I was still live, and there were a bunch of people in the chat like, "Where is he at? Like, what's going on? Is it over?" So it's also like, all right, you don't got to search no more. The live, we're back on live. Um, how do you go about being a fisher of men? Okay, it's a good biblical question. I think the question of how to be a fisher of men has to do with like how do you go about being an example of God in the world, and if possible guiding people to the knowledge of God. And for me, I think it's just a matter, the primary example, the primary thing for me is to firstly be an example of who God is. And so if you come to know God, or at least in the way that I've come to know God, I know God by his character. I know God by his characteristics. I know God through his love. And so for me to be a fisher of men, I have to be able to showcase that love. So that means when I go into the world, I have to be patient with people and loving to people and considerate of people and compassionate towards people. I have to showcase the love that I receive from God so that through me, people will see an embodiment of who God is, to the best of my human ability. Um, so yeah, I think that there are many ways and many people are called to many different paths and many different purposes, but I feel like my purpose is definitely to, and I think everybody's core purpose is to love people first. Um and yeah, it's not always about, hey man, let's talk about Jesus directly. Sometimes it's about me meeting you exactly where you are and showing you the character of Jesus, showing you the character of God, showing you how God treats me in the midst of my scenarios when I'm low or I'm down. He's patient with me. He listens to me. He's a friend to me. He's a father to me. And so I have to be a friend to other people in that way too. So yeah, um, different people have different callings, but I think that's the core of it all, is being an embodiment of a genuine example of God's love. Uh, what's the first step of making time for God when you've fallen off the path? I would say that that's a good first step right there for you to even be able to acknowledge that, you want to get back on the path is a step, because it's one thing to step off the path. But it's another thing to step off the path and kind of exist off the path. Like you find comfort there. And that's why I was talking about before that I don't think I'm meant to be comfortable in this world. If comfort finds me, I'm grateful, but I can't be comfortable because this is not the finality of life, and this is not where I ultimately belong. And so, if I fall off the path in walking towards where I'm needing to get to, or if I fall off the path of pursuing a relationship with God, I simply talk to Him. I acknowledge where I may have fallen. I admit to it. Um, I think that may be repentance, like you repent for it. Repentance is like an acknowledgement of what you've done. And it's not like a guilty acknowledgement. It's like this is the reality of what I've done. And I want to make it clear that I'm aware and you're aware and we're on the same page. And from acknowledging it, then you can actually start to move forward. But you can't ask for forgiveness for something that you're not willing to even acknowledge that you've done. So yeah, I acknowledge what I've done. I acknowledge that I want to be better. I acknowledge that I can't be better on my own. Because I realized that a while ago, like a lot of things I want to change that I've been trying to change on my own, and I've been being so hard on myself for, I realized that I'll never be able to do it on my own. And God knows that. God knows that I'm not going to be able to fix everything on my own. That's why He engages or He invites us into a relationship, because He understands that we can't do it on our own. And that's why He's here to do it with us, and even for us. Um, so yeah, man, just acknowledgement, and then uh, yeah, and not being so hard on yourself. Not being so hard on yourself, because God is reasonable. God is understanding. Even more, God knew what you were going to do before you even did it. And He knew what you were going to do before He even started working on you. He knew all the mistakes you were going to make. He knew you were going to stumble. That's why grace exists. And so you engage with that grace. You don't live in guilt and allow yourself to, don't destroy yourself or beat yourself down. You can acknowledge that you've done wrong, but don't live in that, because God doesn't want you there either. God doesn't want you feeling guilty all the time and walking around with your head low and feeling like you're not deserving of His love. Like, it's kind of like when you have a friend, and your friend messes up or does something wrong, and you really love this person. And so, in their mind, they don't want to bring their problems to you, but in your mind, all you want is for them to provide you the opportunity to be there for you. I think it's a similar dynamic with God in that scenario, where we sometimes slip up and fall, and we feel like that makes us undeserving because we're ashamed. But the reality is that all God wants to do is to be there for us. And so we have to allow Him that room and invite Him to be there for us, and then allow His love to embrace us, instead of allowing our minds to guilt us into feeling like we're not deserving of it. Um, hey Miles, I think grace is super important to really drive out fear in your life. And religious people, and as religious people, we think that we need condemnation. Well, see, that's the thing, is that religion, and that's why I try my best to elaborate on my relationship with God, because it's not, for me, it's not a religious thing. Religion is community, yes, but the culture of religion can be condemning sometimes, and I don't think that that is the representation of the true character of God, at least not in what I've experienced. Now, um, it is a reality, but as God is working on you, God is not the kind of person to condemn you. He'll tell you where you're wrong. He'll let you know where you're going wrong. He'll let you know where you slip. He'll let you know what you need to work on. But it's all for the better, it's all for your own betterment. And in the same way that you wouldn't condemn someone to get them to change, you wouldn't tell somebody how terrible they are if you want them to be better. You know, you would be there for, well, I don't know, because people are different, but I don't think God speaks through condemnation. Never. God never speaks through condemnation. He's never speaks through anger. He never speaks like, he never screams, he never shouts, you know. And so if there's a voice in your head that is condemning you, then that may be your own mind. It even may be the enemy, like appropriating God, you know. But God is a still small voice. God is patient, and um, God is willing to hear you out. He's willing to understand you. But I think you have to be willing to allow that room, you know. How was your birthday? My birthday was cool. It started out really good. I got really depressed in the middle of it, and then it ended amazing. So grateful overall. How different do you think you'd be if you didn't know God? Boy, dog. I don't even want to know who I'd be if I didn't know God. Like, I don't even want to know, honestly. Like, so bad. So, so bad is all I can imagine. Just so bad. So unknowingly bad is what it is, you know? I think I just wouldn't know how far gone I was, you know? And in knowing God, He's there to bring certain things to my awareness and certain things to my understanding, you know? And He's there to shape even my faults into, you know, my blessings, you know? And so it's like a safeguard almost. He's there to turn what could destroy me into what blesses me. So yeah, like I I cannot imagine, bro. I cannot imagine. It's only been a year. Like, I mean, I've always known God or pursued God or believed in God, but it's only been a year since I've been actively engaging a relationship with God and growing in God and walking with God. So, and the walk, bro, the journey in just a year has been just, bro, like, I just can't imagine where I'd be now if this journey hadn't started. Also, real quick, because I know, like, I'm getting a lot of questions about God, but I want to say that I can't speak for God. God might speak through me, but I am not a spokesperson for God. I can only like share with you my experience and my understanding of God that's still growing, that's still continually like expanding as I learn and I grow. So, you know, don't see me as if there's something that you need from God, I'm happy to discuss it. But if it's something that only truly God can give you, like talk to God about it, like for real, like, you know, like don't come expect thinking that I'm going to deliver you everything you need. And even more, don't just take what I say as your ultimate truth and your ultimate fact, you know? Like, and I say the same thing for even like preachers and pastors, you know, like don't just go to church and listen to the word and then just live by what somebody else's interpretation of who God is. Like, it's great, like we can sit here and have discussion, but also engage God directly. You know, God is a direct God. God is, as we talked about before, like God is here, God is alive, God is conscious. God is not just this concept or this idea of an overarching figure over our existence. You know, God is within our existence, around us, and everywhere, you know? And even more than that, God is alive. He's conscious. He has feelings. He has intentions. He has thoughts. He has all of this, you know? And so, like, you have to engage God as someone who is alive. Talk to God. Invite God into conversation. Invite God into your uncertainty. Invite Him into your fears, invite him into your depression, into your anxiety. As I mentioned before, a lot of times God will come as far as you're willing to let him. And so if you're not inviting God into the spaces that you need him most, then he can't exist there because you're not allowing the room for him to be there. So yeah, man, like it's great for us to have conversation, but bro, like, please like talk to the man personally because he's there and he's willing. He's not hiding from you. He's not dodging you. He doesn't hate you. He's waiting to hear from you. He's waiting for you to allow him the room to exist with you. Um, what sparked that pursuit of God a year ago? Well, if I'm being honest, I think I've always been pursuing God, but I didn't realize God is what I was pursuing. Or I didn't realize what I was searching for was in God, you know? I was always pursuing, in the same way I think we all pursue understanding, we all pursue wisdom, we all pursue just feeling okay with the world that we live in. When we look around and we see so much that is outside of our control and so much that we don't understand, we're all pursuing a sense of assurance, in the midst of all that is happening. And so I was searching for that all my life. I was searching for that just in the wrong places. And then God so graciously, like, he came and met me. He came to me. He came to my door. He came to my face. He was like, here I am, and even more, here you are, because who you think you are is not who you are. Where you think you need to go is not where you need to go. Let me really show you what I've put inside of you. Let me show you why you are the way you are, and let me show you the plans that I have for you. Let me show you how much, like, I can bring you what you need, but it's going to be a process. You're going to have to be in communication with me. You're going to have to engage a relationship with me. You're going to have to walk with me and talk with me so that I can reveal to you step by step all of what it is that you need and all of what it is that you don't understand. And so yeah, he met me where I was, but and it's been a journey since then. Now I'm focusing a lot on meeting God. I'm focusing a lot on turning that around, not always waiting for God to come to me, but honoring God and upholding my end of the relationship. Like, how can I love God? How can I show my love for God? How can I, you know, just be consistent in my relationship with him? How can I show gratitude? How can I give thanks? How can I just like play my part as opposed to me just always kind of being the one receiving? Do you know God's name? From what I know, he mentions himself as a couple. I don't know all of them. He calls himself the great I am. He calls himself Jehovah, Yahweh. Um, yeah, those are like the primary. Those, yeah, Jehovah, Yahweh, and God is what I mm, how did you pursue him persistently, even if you fell sometimes? Um, Communication, I think, is continuously a big part of my pursuit of God. Um, Reading the Bible, reading the I don't even where's my Bible is in my book bag, but reading the Bible is a big part of it for me because, as we talked about before, when you read the Bible, you gain a understanding of who God is because he says that this is his word. And so if you want to know God, there's a personal aspect of it where you experience him in a personal relationship. But then I think in knowing God, there's such a there's just so much more to uncover and understand. And so the Bible, I think, is a foundational part of that relationship, a foundational part of how I understand the world around me, a foundational part of how I what I base my character on, like, when I read the stories of the righteous people in the Bible, though they were imperfect, I look at how they pursued God, how they honored God, and the wisdom that God delivers through them. Like the Bible is just like it's it, bro. It's the book. The Bible is God in physical form. And I also, somebody, we talked about this earlier, but inviting God to give you understanding of the Bible, because it's a spiritual book, and it's not something that everybody can just pick up and open and just get it. And I know a lot of us struggle with that. I struggled for a long time, but again, inviting God into it, asking God to reveal to you what is really happening in the book, to give you divine understanding and divine wisdom as you read along, is powerful, bro. And so, yeah, it's like that is core to me. um Somebody asked earlier why God seems so like harsh in the Old Testament. And I can definitely say like I've had that same thought, but I think as I that's such a big conversation that I don't even know if I'm equipped to like really discuss right now. But I wouldn't say God was harsh. God was still love then. But even in that, we have to, that's how I'm talking about, like it opens your mind to understanding the larger, to grasp things on a larger level. Like God's love isn't just, oh, let me bless you. God's love is manifested in discipline. In the Old Testament, he was doing a lot of disciplining with the Israelites, because he was calling them to be representatives of who he was for the world. He was putting a purpose on them. And so he had to shape them and guide them into their purpose. And if, it's not an easy walk. It's not an easy process being taken from who you were and becoming who you're meant to be. It's rough sometimes. And that sometimes love looks like that. It may look harsh, but I think when you really start to really get into the Bible, bro, you start to see love in the midst of all of it, like genuine love. You start to see that depth in love, that real love. And even now is something I'm still grasping. I'm still grasping it, because I think sometimes we focus a lot on the New Testament because it's a little bit more palatable to us. Because then we kind of put it in this image of like, oh, Jesus is just all about being a good person. It's like, no, man, my dad talk a lot about how everything Jesus lived and was an embodiment of everything God was teaching in the Old Testament. So it's all one thing. It's all together. They're very much connected. But yeah, like that's a very, very deep conversation. It's a very, very good question. And I can't say that I'm fully equipped to like answer it, at least not in this format right now. But I will say that it's still love. It's still love. And what I come to, yeah, we'll just talk when I get more about that. We'll have that discussion in the future. Um, um, do you feel that when did you start reading the Bible? When you start reading the Bible, did you start from Genesis, or were you drawn to certain particular scriptures? At first, I was drawn to like certain scriptures, yeah. And again, it's been a process, but yeah, at first I was just drawn to certain scriptures. Like I was reading a lot of Psalms, I was reading a lot of Isaiah. Um, I think there was some really cool stuff in Malachi that I liked a lot. Um, but then my dad was telling me about, as I kind of started to really get into my relationship with God, I was kind of called to really start getting into the uh, like a more foundational understanding of what was happening. And so I found myself reading the Bible from the beginning, to really get a full grasp on humanity. And that's what I kind of talked about before in my most recent video, where I'm really pursuing um, a more universal understanding of life. And, like people often ask me like if I ever checked out like other religions or other theologies, and I have to some degree. But what I've found is that more often than not, the belief systems that we apply or we search or we seek out, usually serve as guides to help us be comfortable here, to help us find some kind of understanding or security here. And I just kind of realized that like I needed more than that. I needed to understand if the world is so crazy outside, how did we get here? Because this can't be what life was meant to be. Like this couldn't have been created with so much chaos. This like, when we say that there's good and evil and the evil needs to exist for the, it's like, nah, bro, like that can't be it. Not when I'm seeing like not nah, bro. Like I'm looking at child molestation and people being raped and murdered and mass genocide and warfare, and I'm just like, bro, like, nah, I can't be comfortable in this world. I can't be comfortable with all of that going on outside. You know, even if it's not happening to me, the fact that it's happening to somebody makes me uncomfortable. And so, like, I needed to have a more universal understanding of what was really going on here. I didn't just want to understand just enough for me to feel okay in my little sphere of like existence. I needed to understand, like, how did we get here as humanity? And so that's when I kind of really started to read the Bible from the beginning, because I wanted to know, like, where were we at, what was going on, because there had to be a point when things were what they were supposed to be, and what went wrong, where did we slip up, how did we like slip out of where we're meant to be. And so I started reading the Bible from Genesis, and in that, I started to really figure out about, you know Adam and Eve and the fall of man, and then, God choosing Abraham to be basically the example of righteousness and how to live life correctly, to be reconciled with Him so that we can actually get to the fullness of life. And then that led into an understanding of the Israelites and who they were and what His law was about. And just like, it's just such a large story. And it gives me now a larger perspective, I think, on existence and life and where I'm at. And that's why I said, now I realize that this world isn't it for me. Like, I'm not trying to find comfort in this world, because I understand that this isn't the fullness of life. You know, it's like if you're playing the trial version of a game, you don't just settle for the trial. It's like, if you know it's a trial, like, all right, now I want the full thing. So what do I need to do to get out of the trial and get into the full thing, And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where this life is not, I'm no longer searching for comfort in this life. I'm no longer searching for success. I'm no longer searching for how I can live my best life, because my best life hasn't even started yet. So yeah, bro, like, yeah, I after a while I read the Bible from the beginning, but at first, bro, like, I was just finding different chapters and different verses that really spoke to me, and just kind of, one thing I got into the habit of was just not just reading verses. Like, if you find a verse that speaks to you, read the first page before that, and then read the page after, so you can have a fuller understanding of what that verse really means, and not just what it means to you, but what it actually meant when it was written and put there. So yeah, bro, like, it's kind of a it's kind of where I'm at on it. um Hey Miles, I'm in a relationship where I don't know whether it's working or not. The truth is, I love the girl, but I just feel like sometimes I don't, and I'm keeping her because I don't want to lose her. I think that it sounds like you need to make a decision. Um, Whether, like, you just need to decide what you want to do. It sounds like you're on the fence still, even subconsciously. Like, you love her, but you're not sure if you're ready to settle down. You love her, but you're not sure if you love her enough to really make her the one that you really give all of yourself to. And I don't think that's not a space you can stay in for very long, because that space breeds toxicity after a while, because there's just too much uncertainty and not enough consistency. And so, I think you just need to make a decision, assess within yourself whether or not you're truly ready for a committed relationship. And if you're not, although it might hurt, cut her loose, you know, because it's better for you to be honest with yourself and wait until you get to a point where you're ready for that kind of relationship, for a committed relationship, and then engage it, than for you to fake it now, you know, and then let it fall apart later anyways. Or if you come to the realization that you are ready to commit, then fully commit, give it your 100%. Don't give it the 50. Like, really really put yourself into it if you're going to commit yourself to this relationship. um yeah, that's the advice I give to you. You know, make a decision. Mm. Why'd you shave your head? I talked about it at the beginning of this live. It was basically just like I was in a very transitional period of my life, and I was letting go of a lot of things from my past. And so my hair was like a physical representation of that, you know, like because I'd been growing my hair for the months prior, and cutting it off was just a physical representation of the spiritual step that I was taking in leaving behind what was behind me and moving into what was in front of me. Am I still writing a book? I am. It's a different book, but I am. Um, when do you think someone is ready for a relationship? It's a good question. When is someone ready for a relationship? When they're ready to stand by their word, through better or worse. You're ready to stand by your word, because a relationship is a decision. You're deciding to love someone, you're deciding to stick it through it's with them, you know, through high or low. Um, and you're ready to stand by that decision, not only when things are great and you guys are in love and everything is working, but on days when it gets hard, when this person is going through their trouble, when you're going through your trouble, when you're uncertain, when you're feeling doubtful, when you're angry at this person or mad at them, you're still committing to the decision that you made to love them, and to really have an understanding of what love is, you know, what love really looks like. You know, it means that you're ready to be self aware. It means that you're ready to admit to your faults and be honest about them and work on them. It means that you're ready to um, sacrifice your sense of comfort, sacrifice your sense of comfort. And you know what's crazy, bro? I'm describing this, but I'm really describing what it means to be, what it meant to be ready for my relationship with God. Because, like, I don't, now that I know God, bro, like what it's taken for me to be in a relationship with God has really shown me what it means to be in a relationship through high and through low. Because I've had to really commit myself time and time again. You know, I've had to really sacrifice and let go of parts of myself that were no longer beneficial for the person that I needed to become. You know, like it's just so much, bro. And that's why, man, honestly, I it's like I don't know how to put it into words, but it's just so hard to like it's hard. It's hard. I can't put it into words. It's hard. But all I'll say is this, bro, like you know uh when you're ready. But when you're ready, it means that you're ready to commit. And you're ready to not only commit, but to understand what commitment means, you know? To understand what that really means, and to understand that it's not always going to be convenient for you, it's not always going to be comfortable for you, but you stand by the commitment, you know, that you've made. Um, Miles, we look alike. We sound similar too. That's crazy, Lee. Uh, let me scroll to the bottom. What kind of live stream is this? I'm new here. Oh, we just like talk. We talk about anything that we're dealing with. We talk a lot about God because that's where I'm at in my life. Um, just answering questions, discussing ideas. Q&A. Oh yeah, somebody said Q&A. I could have just said that. It's Q&A, but more of I think it's more of a discussion because um, I don't know. I don't really like questions about me, like Miles. Like, what are you doing? What do you like about this? What do you, It's more like, hey, bro, like, what's on your mind? And let's talk about it. Um, I personally believe the key to happiness is achieving contentment. I think so. Contentment and gratitude. Um, what have you learned about yourself since getting closer to Christ? That I'm not what I thought I was. Man, there's so much I've learned like about myself. Good things, but also not bad things, but like humbling things. It's humbled me. It's definitely humbled me because like God will somebody said that God is good at making hypocrite out of men. So things that you thought like things that you thought about yourself, he'll show you about yourself. Like he'll show you the truth about yourself. Like I thought I was this just like I thought I knew so much about relationships and I was so ready to be in a relationship. And, like, bro, I am not at all ready to be in a relationship because, like, when I'm in my relationship with God, the amount of things that I fall short of, I'm inconsistent. I have trust issues. I choose my own way a lot of the time. Like, I go outside of what I know to be true. I get angry and frustrated and I let that frustrate. Bro, there's so much I do in my relationship with God that shows me that I'm not as ready for a relationship as I thought I was. But let me tell it, last year, bro, especially when I was in my prime of like making love videos and everybody was like, "Oh my god, you know so much about love." I was like, "Yeah, bro, like I'm ready for this love thing, bro. I got it all figured out." I have none of it figured out. I know nothing about love, bro. Nothing. And I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly in need of grace. That's why grace exists, bro. Because God knows that He's gonna humble. God knows not that He's gonna humble you. He knows that you're gonna be humbled, and that's why His grace is there. Because He knows that you're not perfect, bro. He knows that you're gonna make mistakes, but He knows that you're trying. He knows that you're trying, and that's where grace exists. And so, like in my relationship with God, I've learned patience because I've seen how patient God is with me, and I'm like, bro, like I have no choice but to offer that patience to others as well. Like I've learned so much about myself and I continue to learn so much about myself. But the main thing is just like it's humbling, bro. But it's the best, it's the most graceful humbling. It's not like humbling how we humble people, like, I'm gonna make you feel small. It's a humbling, like, hey, bro, like, you're not what you thought you were, but I know who you are, and I'm gonna show you who you are. It's that kind of humbling, it's that kind of love. And it's the best feeling being humble before God for me. That's where I've really found my identity. Being humble before God is where I'm at my best. Um, how do you discern the voice of the Holy Spirit? Like, how do I know if something is from God or my own thoughts? So I was thinking about this on my walk the other day, and I came up with this like little acronym. I think it was like Aloha. I wanted to make it cool sounding, but it just didn't work. But ALOA. Basically, when I'm feeling uncertain or I'm having trouble discerning the voice of God, I ask first and foremost. I stop and um, I ask, like, God, is there something you're trying to get to me right now? Is there something you're trying to say to me right now? Is there something I'm not understanding? I ask. Then I listen. I listen because a lot of times I'll ask, but because I'm wanting an answer so quickly, I don't actually allow room to hear God, you know? It's like if I don't get an answer now, I'm gonna just do it my way. And if I do get an answer, it might be from my mind and I just go anyway. So like after I ask, I actually take the time to sit, you know, and I listen. I'm still and I listen. And after listening, what was observe or alo, aloha, observe. Ask, listen, let's say observe. I observe and then I allow room for the process because sometimes God works in processes. God isn't always going to be instantaneous with you. He isn't always going to be like a slot machine where you hit him and he hits you right back. Sometimes like I'll be depressed and I'll be like, God, like I need help getting out of this depressive state. And I'll feel something tell me, go clean your car. But in my mind, I'm looking for God to, you know, have somebody call me or put on a song or something like something, some big grand gesture to pull me out of my depression. But sometimes God moves in the small things, you know, he'll be like, hey, go clean your car. You go clean your car and then a song comes on the radio that you needed to hear, then your friend calls you and then you end up hanging out with your friend and you end up like having an amazing day. But it starts with the small things, so you have to listen for the small things and allow room for that. Obey, that's what O was. It wasn't observe, it was obey. After I ask, then I listen, I obey. So I obey whatever I feel like God directs me towards after I ask and listen. So if it's something even as simple as clean your car or clean your room, or you know, like go outside or go talk to this person, as small as it may seem, I do it because again, sometimes God works in processes. So what may seem insignificant to what you're dealing with right now may be exactly the way that he's trying to bring you to what you're asking for. So you have to be willing to obey even those small things. And then so A L O, then A was allow room for the process. So yeah, it's aloha. It's not really cool sounding, but yeah, ask, listen, obey, and allow room for the process is how I deal with feeling uncertain or not being able to discern the voice of God. Um, have you ever felt like you're in a place where one minute you feel safe and you're in a good place and not down, but the next minute you feel like you were just lying to yourself? Um, I think I have some variation of that where sometimes I exist in a space of fear where if I'm feeling good, I'm afraid that by the next second or if I do the wrong thing or you know go the wrong place or go the wrong way, I'm just going to lose it, you know? I feel like when I find certainty, it's like fumbling in my hand. I just got to like try my best to like hold on to it. Um but more recently, I think God has been inviting me into trust to deal with that. He's been inviting me to trust Him. You know, trust being an action and not just a concept. Trust being that despite what it looks like, I know who He is. You know, despite how bad it looks, despite how afraid I am, despite how wrong things seem to be going, I know who He is and I know He's good, you know? And that's what trust really is. Like, trust is not like everything is going to be great all the time. Trust is best displayed in the midst of your uncertainty. That's where faith is born. And so it's in those moments when things aren't going well that I think we're invited to fully and truly engage our faith and engage our trust. And I think when we do choose Him, like when we really choose Him, like in those like hard moments is when, for one, I think He loves that. He loves when we don't allow our circumstance to change our perspective on his character, because his character is always consistent. He's always the same. He's always good. Your circumstances might get rough, but he's always good. And that's what you have to believe in. That's what you have to have faith in. That's what you have to trust in. And then I think when you really start to trust, like he reveals it to you. He reveals that you were good all along. He reveals that although you couldn't see it, you were in his hands all along and he had all of it sorted out for you. So yeah, man. when I'm dealing with like uncertainty or anxiety, like I try to engage trust. And before we talked a lot about like, well, how can I trust who God is? And I think a big part of that is getting to know who God is. Because when you know who God is, then you know what his character really is and you know what he's about. So it's easier for you to discern whether or not your mind is lying to you about, your situation or not. Um, do you ever feel unfulfilled and struggle with comparing yourself to your peers? Yeah, I struggled with that for a while, subconsciously. And I think you will never lose in a comparison match. You will never win in a comparison match because just the act of comparison is detrimental to you. And for that reason, that's why I told you, like, I had to get off social media because for me, my entire experience of social media is comparison. Even if I feel good, it's like I feel good because I feel like I'm doing good in comparison to that person. And then a lot of times I feel bad because I feel like I'm not doing as much as that person. Like it just puts my mind in a comparative space. um and so to kind of alleviate comparison, I've had to really dive into my identity outside of how I exist with other people, or how or who people think I am. And yeah, I had to get on social media for that. I had to really spend time with myself and I had to really spend time with God so that I didn't have to convince myself of who I was, and I didn't need people to convince me of who I was, but I was pursuing him so he could tell me who I was, because I think he's the only one with the accurate understanding of who you are, who you've been, and who you're going to become. um so yeah, we talked a lot about before about like um trying to find yourself, and I've come to the realization that I can't find myself without God. Like I can't, because I can't tell me who I am, and I definitely can't expect you to tell me who I am. Yeah. Package. All right. I can't tell myself who I am, and I definitely can't expect you to tell me. Thanks. I definitely can't expect you to tell me who I am. So uh I just got a package. I don't know what's in this package. It's a package. All right. I'll check that later. But yeah. What was I saying? When it comes to finding yourself, I can't tell me who I am. You can't tell me who I am. So I have to seek out the one who created me, because he's the one who put me together. He not even just the parts that I like. He put together all of me. He put together how I look. He put together how I sound. He put together my family, my mind, how it works. He put together my experiences. Like he put together every single aspect of my life. And so if I really want a true understanding of who I am, I have to go to my creator, because he's the only one who really knows. Everybody else just knows a portion or part or idea of who you are. And we don't even know who we are in its entirety. So I think if you really want to know who you are, you have to, you're going to have to you're going to have to go to the creator if you're looking for an accurate version, at least. Um, my boyfriend and I broke up for college because of distance, but we still love each other and talk every day. Is it worth trying to date still? I think long distance is difficult um, if you don't know the kind of person that you are. Um, and we talk a lot about like ensuring that our relationships aren't based on our feelings, because feelings are not consistent enough, um, are not a consistent enough reason to foundate a relationship. Um, So if you're considering like being with this person long distance, you have to really consider within yourself, am I the type of person that can feel love from a distance? Am I the kind of person that just by talking on the phone, I'm fulfilled? Some people are really like that, and they can find a long distance relationship more easily. But some people need like physical intimacy. Some people need to hug and be able to like hold somebody's hand, to be able to just like cuddle with them and be around them. Some people need to be in your physical presence to really feel, love. And so, like, you have to consider the kind of person that you are. Despite how much you like this person, you have to consider, am I the kind of person that can engage in a dynamic in which I'm not going to physically be around this person often? And then they have to consider that too. Like, are they the kind of person that can exist in that dynamic? And if you can, if you both can, then sure, give it a shot. But if you're not, just be honest with yourself. It's better that you hurt now a little bit and, separate than for you to try it and force it and hurt later when you're even more involved and you've put even more time into it and it breaks your heart even harder. So it's just like really a question of like, are we two people that can comfortably exist in a long distance dynamic? And really having that conversation, one, first of all, with yourself and then with each other. Mm. Um, what if they can't give you time in long distance relationships? Then I wouldn't engage. I think any relationship requires a person to make a deliberate effort to allow time for the person or allot time for the person that they care about. And if that's not a position they're in, then no, don't force it. Um, I'm struggling. Yesterday, I wanted to give up. I feel so in the wrong. I'm in a career path where the atmosphere is killing me spiritually. It makes it harder to want to continue my relationship with God. Um, if I were in your position, I would ask God where He wants me to go in this scenario. Because God might just ask you to leave that very position, but because it's a job and it's security, you might feel inclined to stay. But that's the thing with God, is that He knows where you are and He knows if you're struggling and He knows what you're feeling. And so He might be preparing something for you to alleviate that. But again, you have to engage trust and engage faith. So I would ask Him, like, where He wants me to go or how He wants me to deal with this. And if He asks you to leave that scenario, to leave your job, although it might seem like a leap of faith, if you're, especially if you're considering your spiritual health and your relationship with Him, if you are willing to leave a job because it is diminishing your spiritual connection with God, I can promise you that He will prepare something else for you. He might ask you to quit your job and He might give you a job next week, 2 weeks from now. That's exactly where He needed you to be, exactly where He wants you to be. So yeah, I would just say talk to Him and listen for Him and obey whatever He asks you to do, no matter how hard it might seem. No matter how difficult it might seem, because again, like bro, God God is so amazing, bro. Like, He's so amazing, and He exists so far outside of our understanding of Him that you might be thinking like, yeah, I love God, bro, but I can't leave my job. It's my job, feel me? But bro, like, when you're walking with God, bro, when you're really trusting God, the things that He will set up for you, He will set things up that you will have no option but to acknowledge that that's Him, because it's no way that any kind of coincidence that a job like this could land in your lap in a time that it did when you needed it most. Like, He will always take care of you, but that involves you first engaging trust, taking that step when He asks you to, and trusting that He's going to take care of you, and then watch Him take care of you. Um, are you alive or just existing? I'm alive. I'm alive. And I'm alive. But my being alive isn't necessarily what I used to think it was. I used to think being alive meant that you were on top of the world and you were happy and everything was just like, in synchronicity and everything was just going your way. And that's what it meant to feel alive. But being alive also looks like being in chaos. Being alive looks like being confused. Being alive looks like uncertainty, but it's not letting that uncertainty consume you. It's being able to manage even in the midst of that chaos. It's still being alive. It's maintaining, trusting. And that's why I was saying, like, I'm at a space in my life now where it's like, man, I'm not so afraid of uncertainty anymore because I know who I belong to, bro. Like, I know who God is. And even more, I trust who God is. I trust who he is now. So even if, bro, like the worst thing was to happen tomorrow, it's not killing me, bro, because I know who he is and I know he's going to look out for me. And I know that even though it may look bad right now, he's going to turn it around. He has before and he will again. So it's just a matter of me learning to stop worrying so much and to start trusting him more. That sounded a little bit aggressive. I'm sorry if that sounded aggressive. I'm sorry if that sounded aggressive. All right, bye D or Adonai. It was Adonai. I feel like that's a Hebrew name. I've heard that name before. That's a beautiful name. All right, Adonai. Um, Miles, I don't know whether to give up on this relationship or not. Something tells me she's talking with other dudes, but I don't know if it's God talking to me or if it's just my insecurities. Um, wow, that's a really deep question because I think it's really dope that you are willing to consider your own insecurity, you know, as something that might be projecting onto a person. Um, like that's awesome, bro. Like it's great that you're not just projecting, but you're willing to be self-aware enough to look at yourself and say, like, is this me? You know? And understand that, yeah, maybe I do have insecurities that would cause this. But I think ultimately, like, if you're really dealing with a person intimately or pursuing that, you should be able to talk to them. If you can't talk to somebody about that, about your insecurities, about your fears, about your uncertainties, is that really the kind of person you'd want to be in a relationship with? If I can't come to you and say, "Hey, I've been cheated on before, so it's put me in a mind state where I tend to doubt people or I'm afraid that people are going to cheat on me." So small things make me anxious, and actually be honest about that with the person, like that's something, that's what a relationship is supposed to be, or at least even getting ready to be in a relationship with a person, you have to be able to be honest about what you've experienced before and how it affects you now. And it's not to say that you just stay in that, but you acknowledge that so you can work on that together. So she might say, hey, like, well, like, I'm not talking to anyone, and I can understand where you're coming from, and like we can work on that together. She might even say, hey, well, I actually didn't really think that we were exclusive, so I have like a couple people that I've been talking to, but at least we're honest with each other here. I think sometimes it's that, like, we're afraid of honesty. It's like we want things to be so much what they are in our heads that we're afraid to have a conversation about it, because that conversation might reveal to us the truth of the situation. And I think, like, sometimes truth hurts, but I think it's better to know the truth and adapt to it than to live a lie. And it's not to say that's your situation, but what I'm trying to get across to you is that just be honest with her, but not honest in a way that, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Are you cheating on me? Are you talking like, hey, like, for real, like, I've been through this in my past relationships and it's something that still bothers me. So I don't mean to be like projecting onto you right now, but it would be beneficial if, you could assure me that, of what's going on or what our dynamic is. And then moving forward, you guys can like really work on that together. But I think you have to be able to be honest with the person. Hi, God loves me and I have no doubt about it, but I crave for a deep, meaningful connection with other people nowadays. And it seems so hard, I end up disappointed. Should I give up? I wouldn't say you should give up, but I think we should understand that as we grow more into ourselves and start to understand ourselves more, um, definitely if you're a person, like you mentioned that you know, you follow God, like when you engage in that relationship, you know that He's gonna be revealing to you the depths and the layers of who you really are to Him. And when you start to reach those depths, it's not gonna always be easy to connect to people as easily because different people may be at different spaces in their life, where you may not be in sync. But I think in those moments, although it may feel lonely, I think it's better to be lonely and occasionally meet the right people than to be social with all the wrong people. And so what I would do is that I pray. I pray for God to deliver to me the people that I need in the time that I need them. And what I found is that like I don't have a bunch of friends, but the people I do consider friends are genuine people, genuine friends. Not only like good people, but people who are genuinely helping me and assisting me to become who it is that I need to be. These are people who are working on their own relationships with God, wherever they are. It's not to say everybody I know is just, oh, in the Bible. I know people who struggle with reading the Bible. I know people who are into new age beliefs, but believe in God and are searching for clarity on it. Like, it's not a matter of where they are with God for me, but can God use them and speak through them into my life? Can they help me in any way to become the kind of person I need to become? You know, and so yeah, I think like it's gonna feel lonely at times, but I promise you, I think especially if you're on a walk with God, like when He does introduce you to people, it'll be the people that are gonna stick around for a while. And even people who don't stick around for a while, like the whatever purpose they served in your life will be purposed by Him. So I think just talk to Him and ask Him to introduce you to the kind of people that you need to be around, but also trust His timing. Trust His timing, because what we want isn't always what we need right now. A lot of times we're not even prepared for what we want. And I was thinking about this other day because I was thinking about the distinction between manifestation and prayer. And I found that the distinction for me is this: when you manifest things, there is power to your word. I don't even know exactly how it works, but I know that the things that we speak and the things that we say do have an impact on the life that we have, and the things that are attracted to us. That said, I don't think manifestation is, uh, I don't think manifestation is what we really need it to be, because although we might manifest something, it may not be what we need. I might be manifesting a girlfriend right now, but I might not be ready for a girlfriend. Like I mentioned before, like I thought I was ready for a relationship until God showed me that I wasn't. And that's where I think prayer is really powerful, because when you manifest, you're kind of leaving God out of it and saying, I want whatever I want. Bring it to me. I'll take it. And sometimes it will be delivered to you. And it's not until it destroys you or breaks you or hurts you that you realize it wasn't for you. People be manifesting jobs. Can you really manage the money that you're asking for? Can you really maintain your heart with that kind of like blessing? Like, so when you pray, I think then when you involve God into it, God will not only give you what you want, but He'll give it to you when you can handle it. And even more, He'll prepare you to handle it. If I'm asking God for a better paying job, He's gonna give me, he might, he, if it's in my path, He's gonna give me a better paying job, but He's gonna show me how to manage my money first. He might make me go broke to teach me how to appreciate money. You might ask God for money and you might end up broke tomorrow. But it may look like He's not hearing you, but He's actually teaching you and preparing you for the very blessing that you asked for. And I think that's the beauty about asking God for things, because God is not going to give you anything that's going to destroy you, but He will prepare you for what it is that you want. Um, Oh man, it's been an hour. I think I might spend like maybe 15 more minutes on here, and then I'm gonna get off. Um, what do you think about trying to make social media your main source of income because you enjoy personal content creation and influencer marketing more than a 9 to 5 job, but God is taking you farther, but it's taking you farther from God? I would say anything that takes you far from God or takes you away from God, don't prioritize it. Um, I was reading like the other day about how an idol is anything that we love more than God. And I realized for me, that's my phone. Like I think my phone is an idol, because like I'll be for instance, I'll be worshiping, right? But my phone will like buzz, and it's like I'm still worshiping, I'm still spending time with God, but I can't wait to be done so I can check my phone, you know? Like now imagine if it was like you're with your somebody you care about, somebody you love, and somebody calls them and they're like, "Hey, like can we hang out later?" They're like, "Yeah, cool." And then every second that you guys spend together, this person is thinking about what they want to go do with the person after you. Like how would you feel? Like so for me, it's like I realized I love my phone. I struggle with loving my phone more than I love God. And so, I would think that because, what I do is primarily online, that, I have to be on my phone and I have to be consistent with it. But it's like, bro, again, God is going to provide for me in the way that when the way that I need when I prioritize him. So I haven't been on social media this entire month pretty much, and I'm still been good. We gained like 10,000 subscribers this last month, and I haven't been posting. Like God, if you just honor God, bro, he will handle everything else. If you're worried about your job, honor God. You're worried about your relationship, honor God. Always choose God because he will always sort out the rest for you. It's when we step away from God and try to sort out things for ourselves that things start getting crazy and start going wrong. But I promise you, bro, like if you're ever in a decision where you have to choose between anything and God, choose God because he will sort out the rest of it, bro. He will sort out the rest of it. I thought that in talking more about God in my content because of where I was at in my life, I thought that would actually like basically take away from my viewership or take away from my subscribers because I don't know where people are at in their life and I don't know if they're trying to hear about God right now. But it's actually like it's been rising and I have no idea how. And like my dad told me this morning, like that's just a testament to like trusting God, trusting God and following what he calls you to, following where he calls you to be. Because it's like, for one, I doubted for myself because even us now, we've just talked for like an hour about God, and it's been very cool. It's been very open. It's been very like, communicative. Like it hasn't been no static or any difficulty at all. But in my mind, I was convincing myself that, oh no, like it's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like that. But the reality is, bro, like he's already got it sorted out. Like he's already got it all sorted out. So yeah. I say all that to say, bro, just always choose to honor God in every situation. If you're with your friends, if you're with your family, if it's with your job, if it's with your future, if it's with your heart, your relationship, always choose to honor God. And I promise you, bro, like he will sort it out in ways that you couldn't even imagine. How do I honor God? I've been realizing, bro, there's no better way of honoring God than obedience. There's no better way of God honoring God than obedience. And we talked before about how when we hear obedience, we tend to avert from it because obedience feels submissive, and we see submission as weakness, or obedience feels like giving someone power. And the truth is that obedience is love. As human beings, we've corrupted what obedience means because when we think of obedience, we think of obedience in regards to like I want my pet to obey me or I want my child to obey me. But again, as I mentioned in the previous live, when we want something to obey us, it's usually for our own benefit. It's usually like I want my pet to stop peeing on the floor so that I don't have to clean it out. I want my kid to go wash those dishes so that I don't have to wash those dishes. But when it comes to obeying God, God is intimately involved with your best outcome. And not just your best outcome for what you want here on earth. I'm talking what your best outcome is for your soul, for your life, for your existence. And so when you obey God, it's in your best interest because God is working in your best interest. So if God says, hey, I want you to do this, even if you don't like it, if you don't feel like doing it, do it anyways, because he is not a tyrant. He's not here to oppress you. He's here to shape you into exactly what you need to be. He's here to give you everything that you need, So like obedience, bro, obey him. And like I mentioned before, in the small things, not just obedience and like, I'm gonna go to church every week, or obedience and like, if he tells you, hey, call this person, or hey, wash your car, hey, clean your room, hey, go do that. Like, obey him, because he will like work. He's always working in small ways. And that when you look back at it, bro, it's like, I don't know how else to put it to you, bro. The best way to honor God is obedience. Just listen to him, obey him. And I promise you, bro, like, there's nothing better than humility before God. There's nothing better than humility before God. There's nothing better than existing in that mind state. You know, everything you're searching for exists in humility and obedience to God. And it doesn't sound like it, because that doesn't sound pretty. Like, you want me to be humble? You want me to be obedient? Like, how's that going to get me happiness? How's that going to get me peace? How's that going to get me assurance? Well, it does. It does. um, how do you maintain your discipline in seeking God through prayer? Um, I think I try to be consistent about it. So I pray every morning and I pray before I go to bed. But for me, I get on my knees and I pray. I don't just like wake up and, I mean, sometimes I pray in my mind. I pray throughout the day, but I try to be deliberate about getting on my knees and praying in the morning, because for me, that's an act of, honor. It's me saying I am willing to roll out of bed, get on my knees, and say this prayer. It's me allowing that space, creating that space to say, hey, this is for you. It's not for my convenience. I'm willing to inconvenience myself for you. That's, I think, is a way of honor. But yeah, I'm consistent with it. I'm consistent with prayer, and I pray throughout the day. Like, I don't just pray in that way when I'm on my knees and thank you, God. I pray when I'm on this live, as I'm talking to you. You ask me a question, I don't feel like I have the answer, I might say a quick prayer. Hey, God, like, can you give me the word that I need to say? Can you give me understanding? Give me clarity? Can you speak through me? Like, just simple things I'll say in the back of my mind as I'm speaking, as I'm talking to people, as I'm going about my life. I maintain a consideration of him in everything that I do. If I'm about to listen to a song, something as simple as listening to music, bro, I'd be like, is this what I feel like, God wants me to listen to right now? And I think sometimes, to me, I think maybe I'm just being too, like, cautious. But my dad always tells me to err on the side of caution. And it's better for you to uh, be more cautious than you need to be than for you to be lax and end up where you don't need to be, you know? So yeah, bro, just involve him. Just involve him in every part of what you're doing, in every aspect of your day, in everything you do. If you're about to go to work and you're not feeling it, God, can you give me the strength? Like, you ever hear like old black women talk, like everything they say, it's always something to do with God. Like, they finish a good meal, thank you, God. Like, they see something crazy, Lord have mercy. Like, they're always, it's funny, and it seems casual, but for me, it's kind of like you're acknowledging God in every aspect, even in the small moments, in every aspect of your life, man. Like, just involve him in all of it. All right, I'm gonna get off live now, but it was really cool to talk with you guys about this. All right, I'm gonna answer one more question. Somebody said, hey, Job. That's funny. I feel like I'm in a dark pit right now, and I don't know if there's a way out. I'm trying to trust God, but I don't feel his presence. So, did you know there's a story about a guy in the Bible who has your exact name? His name is Job too. And he was in that exact scenario where a lot of chaos was happening, but he couldn't see why or how. And it's funny because in the if you read the story in the Bible, it gives you a outsider's perspective on what was going on. So although Job, much like you, was experiencing the chaos, as you read the story, you see it from almost God's perspective. And what you actually see is that although Job was experiencing chaos and thinking that God wasn't there, God was actually rooting for Job. He was actually believing in Job. He actually knew Job's heart enough to say, hey, it doesn't matter how much chaos he endures. I know he's with me. I know that's my boy. I know that's my kid. That's my son. Like, I know him. I know he loves me. Like, I don't even got to sweat. Like, it don't matter what you put on my boy. Like, you not finna, you might get him a little shooken up. He might feel a little upset, but he's not, bro. He's not, this is not breaking. And so, although it may feel like chaos to you, God might just be like really feeling love for you, even though it doesn't feel like it. He may be looking at you like smiling, proud of you. The fact that you came on this chat right now and you were willing to like ask that question and express that, like, I think God is like proud of you. Proud of how you're handling the situation. It's not always just like pretty with him. Like sometimes God is proud of how we handle difficult times. What we do when we're presented with uncertainty. Are we going to fold, or are we going to like at least try to stand firm? At least admit like, hey God, I'm having a hard time, but I'm trying to like stick by you. I'm trying to search for you. I'm trying to seek for you. I'm trying to hear your voice. The fact that you're even trying, the fact that you weren't just like, you know what, bro, this sucks. I'm done. I'm finna go do this. I'm finna go do that. I'm finna just go out in the world and do whatever. But the fact that you are trying to like seek him in the midst of this darkness, I think is something that he's proud of, and he'll honor that. I believe that he'll honor that. So yeah, bro, like, I definitely recommend maybe checking out Job. I think you'll see a lot of yourself in it, but you may see your situation from a larger perspective. And then, like, keep on having the same faith you had enough to come in here and talk to me about that. The same faith you had enough to like bring it up, the same faith you have to be searching after him, like hold on to that. Hold on to it, because he's gonna honor it. He's gonna honor it. So yeah, man. Thank you guys for this live. It's been like really real. It's been really cool. I'm grateful that we could get on here and like chat and talk as usual. I'm that grateful that so much love, and I'm grateful that God is just. I'm grateful for. Yeah, I'd love to end this off with a prayer. If you trying to pray, we could pray. All right. Um. So yeah. Let's. Yeah, I'll just pray real quick. Cool beans. Cool beans. Um. So, dear God, I thank you for the space that you provided for us here. I thank you for every person who's been in this live, every person who came in, even for a second, even periodically, every person who was in here, every person who's still here. I thank you for what you've allowed us to experience, this dynamic that we have here, that we can exist together and talk together and ask questions and, just communicate. I ask, Lord, that you will continue to open our minds and open our hearts to receiving your truth, receiving your love, to engage deeper and more fulfilling relationships with you. I pray for everyone who may not have had their question answered today. I know that you know what's in their heart. I know that you know the things that are bothering them, the things that they may not be able to put into words to even ask for help on. You know what is bothering them in the spaces that they can't explain to anyone else. And I ask that you will visit them there. I ask that you do the same for me, in my own fears and my own uncertainties and my own anxieties. I thank you for being, a father that is there for me, a father that cares. And I thank you for answering the prayers that I couldn't even ask. So again, I'm just grateful for this space that you provided, this platform that you've created that we can all kind of exist together and benefit from. I thank you for anything that you've said through me today, to impact somebody that needed to hear it today. And I give all praises to you for that, because it's not me, it's entirely you. And I'm just grateful to have been a vessel through which you can reach somebody through. And I pray that they will see your love in that. They will not see me, but they will see you and how you orchestrated for me to be here in this moment, how you orchestrated for them to be here, or you orchestrated the answers that they needed. And I pray that as we go into this week, that we will continue to pursue and a relationship with you and trust in your guidance and your word. In your name I pray. Amen. Cool beans. All right. So yeah, much love to all of you guys. I think I'm gonna like save this live, and yeah, yeah. Keep me in your prayers. I'll definitely keep you guys in mind, and yeah, we're gonna keep on going. You know, this life thing gets difficult sometimes. I was just looking at a journal entry from a month ago, and I was so frustrated. I was so down, and it's literally a month. I made that journal entry July 23rd. Today's August 24th, and I was just like almost tearing up a little bit just looking at how confused and angry and frustrated I was, but thinking about how I feel now a month later, it's just like, man, I'm just glad I stuck through. And so I want to, encourage you to stick through too, even for your future self. I guarantee that your future self will be grateful that you endured what it is that you're feeling right now, because I experienced that moment today where me, the future self, was so grateful that the past me stuck through, what I was feeling. And yeah, man, it's really courageous, and I'm just, I just hope you stick around, and we're just gonna keep getting through this together. We're gonna keep seeking after God, and keep working at it, bro. So yeah, much love to you guys. I'll see you next time.